The evening air tasted of rain and jet fuel. Traffic hummed like a restless sea as I drove my daughter Lila and my grandson Ethan toward the glowing airport lights. Inside the terminal, everything gleamed, bright floors, echoing footsteps, a calm voice announcing departures. I told myself it was just another goodbye, not knowing it would be the last time she'd ever walk away from me. A faint flicker ran through the ceiling lights. For a heartbeat, the hall dimmed. A guard looked up, frowning as if he'd seen it too. Then everything went back to normal. Maybe I imagined it. We waited near the gate. Lila brushed invisible lint from her blazer, her phone lighting up again and again. She'd glance at the screen, then lock it before I could see the name. "It's only 3 days, Mom," she said lightly, almost rehearsed. "Take care of Ethan. Remember his inhaler." "I always do." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Her hand lingered on Ethan's shoulder a second too long, almost gripping. Then she let go. Ethan clutched his little backpack like a shield. He hadn't spoken since we parked. His silence pressed on me harder than the chill in the air. Lila crouched to meet his eyes. "Be good for Grandma, okay? I'll be back before you even miss me." He nodded once. She kissed his forehead, stood, and checked her watch. "Boarding soon," she murmured, forcing a quick smile. For a second, she looked like she might say something more, but then she smiled, too quickly, and turned away. I watched her disappear behind security, her reflection rippling across the glass. The hum of engines and smell of coffee filled the air. For a long moment, I stayed there, staring at the gate that had swallowed my daughter whole. Then Ethan tugged my sleeve. "Come on, love," I whispered. "Let's go home." We walked through the long corridor toward the parking area. Each step echoed. Somewhere behind us, a child laughed, high-pitched, brief, then silence again. The garage lights buzzed overhead, throwing long shadows between cars. I pressed the alarm. Our old sedan blinked. That's when Ethan stopped dead. The world seemed to stop with him. His grip on my hand tightened so hard it hurt. His small nails dug into my skin. "Ethan?" He looked up, eyes wide and glassy. "Grandma." His voice trembled. "Please, don't go back there," I bent down, startled. "What do you mean, sweetheart?" "Don't go back to the house," he whispered. "I heard Mom on the phone this morning. She said something bad's going to happen when we're asleep." My heart stumbled. "Bad? What kind of bad?" She said, "Make sure everything's ready tonight. No mistakes. It has to look like an accident." He gulped air. "She talked about the heater. She said no one would know." The hum of the lamp seemed to roar in my ears. "Ethan," I said carefully, "maybe you dreamed it." "No," he blurted, shaking his head. "She said it." "I swear." His fear hit me harder than his words. This wasn't ordinary childhood fright. Something deeper lived in those eyes. I wanted to believe reason. But a quiet voice inside me whispered, "What if he's right? Maybe I'm the one losing my mind." "Okay," I breathed finally. "Okay, my love. We won't go back there tonight." His shoulders slumped in relief. He leaned against me, small and shaking. We reached the car. I buckled him in, hands trembling, and slid behind the wheel. "Where are we going, Grandma?" "Somewhere safe." I didn't know where that was, but I said it anyway. Rain began to fall, soft at first, then heavier. City lights stretched into watery ribbons as I drove with no plan except distance. An hour later, I stopped at a roadside diner glowing pink and blue in the storm. Ethan was asleep, cheek pressed against the window. His breathing was calm, a fragile kind of peace. Inside, the coffee was bitter. I stood by the glass wall, watching rain smear neon across the parking lot. The night felt heavy, like it was listening. Then my phone buzzed. Lila. Her name burned on the screen. "Her flight should have been in the air," I answered slowly. "Hello? Hi, Mom." Her voice was calm, too calm. "Where are you? You didn't text when you got home." "Oh, we stopped for dinner." I forced a chuckle. "Ethan wanted pancakes." A beat of silence. "Dinner? At this hour?" Yes, he was hungry. Another pause. In the background, not airport noise, wind, movement. "That's nice," she said. Well, I hope you two are comfortable at home. The flight got delayed, so I'll be back in the morning. My stomach turned to ice. Oh, what a shame, I said lightly. We'll see you tomorrow then. Of course, Mom. Her tone brightened too quickly. Sleep well. The line clicked dead. I stared at my reflection in the window, a pale face framed by stormlight. Lila wasn't at any airport. She'd never left. That call wasn't casual. It was a test. She was checking if we were home. Rain thickened, tapping the glass like impatient fingers. Across the road, a pair of headlights glowed through the downpour. They hadn't moved since I came in. A shadow shifted behind the glare. Maybe a driver waiting, maybe not. I closed the curtain halfway, pulse racing. Ethan stirred in his sleep. The diner lights flickered, just once, as thunder rolled in the distance. And for the first time that night, I understood the truth. We hadn't escaped anything yet. That night, I learned the truth. Lila wasn't acting alone, and whoever was helping her already knew where we were. The rain outside the diner had turned relentless, blurring the world into moving glass. Every drop on the window sounded like a ticking clock, counting down to something unseen. Ethan slept beside me, cheek pressed to the booth, breathing softly. I wanted to believe we were safe, but safety was already behind us, left somewhere we couldn't return to. Through the glass, 2 headlights still glowed across the lot, motionless, watching. Each time the wipers on that car scraped across the windshield, I caught a glimpse of a dark shape behind the wheel. Then stillness again. I gripped my coffee mug just to feel its weight. If Lila wasn't at the airport, who was that? The waitress passed by humming an old tune, a little off-key. I tried to smile at her. Busy night? She laughed softly. You're my only soul in here tonight, sweetheart. Storm's keeping everyone home. I hesitated. The car outside. Do you know whose it is? She frowned, glancing toward the glass. Car? There hasn't been one out there for hours. My stomach turned cold. I looked again. The headlights were gone. Nothing but empty rain and reflections. Maybe I was seeing things, I murmured. The waitress gave a polite smile, but her eyes lingered on me a beat too long. Then she disappeared into the kitchen, leaving me with the echo of her humming. I stared at the window until the reflection of my own face seemed strange to me. Maybe I really was losing it. Maybe fear was making me see ghosts. Then again, ghosts don't call from working phones. Come on, sweetheart, I whispered, shaking Ethan awake. We have to go, he blinked sleepily. Are we going home? Not yet. We stepped outside. The wind cut straight through my coat, pushing rain into my face. I hurried him into the car, locking the doors before starting the engine. As we merged onto the highway, the storm swallowed us whole. The wipers struggled to keep up. Every few seconds, lightning flashed, white veins crawling across the sky. I kept my eyes ahead, hands tight on the wheel. My voice broke the silence before I could stop it. I keep hearing her voice even when she's not there. Ethan looked up. Whose voice? I didn't answer, because saying her name out loud made it real. For a while, only the hum of the tires filled the car. Then the radio crackled to life on its own. A faint melody seeped through the static, slow, childlike. A lullaby, my breath caught. That song? Ethan whispered. Mom used to hum that when she was angry. I reached for the dial, but before I could touch it, the radio switched off again. Just silence. Heavy and alive. Ethan turned his head toward the dark window. He's closer now, Grandma. My heart skipped. Who's closer? The man from the parking lot. I wanted to tell him there was no man, but I couldn't say it, not after what I'd already seen vanish into rain. The drive felt endless, time stretching thin. Every passing light looked like a face staring back. I thought of going to the police, but stopped myself. What would I even say? My daughter's plotting to kill me. The proof is in a song on the radio? They'd call someone to take me home. Back into her hands. No. I had to think. When the exit sign for our old neighborhood appeared through the fog, a memory surfaced. Wallace, the old doorman from before we moved. Quiet, kind, invisible to most. If anyone would open his door at this hour, it'd be him. I turned down the narrow road leading toward the apartment complex. The rain softened to a drizzle, the streets shining under the tired streetlights. "Where are we?" Ethan asked. "Someplace that still remembers us." The building looked smaller than I remembered. Peeling paint, rusted gates, windows glowing dim behind curtains. "Stay here." "Love?" I said, cutting the engine. "I'll be right back," he frowned. "Don't be long." "I won't." I dashed across puddles and knocked on the small glass window of the security booth. A figure inside stirred. Then the window slid open. "Nora?" "Wallace." Relief flooded my voice. I didn't think you'd still be here." 10 years and counting," he said, pushing open the door. "Come in out of that rain. You look like you've seen a ghost." "Maybe I have." He led me inside the cramped booth. The air smelled of coffee and dust. "What's going on?" "It's complicated," I said, trembling. "My daughter. Something's wrong. My grandson and we can't go home." Wallace's expression softened. "Then don't. Stay in my back room for the night." "I can't hide forever. You can for tonight." Minutes later, Ethan sat wrapped in a blanket, sipping cocoa in Wallace's little kitchen. For a fleeting moment, he looked like any other sleepy child after a long trip. That illusion hurt more than fear itself. I told Wallace everything. Not all of it made sense coming out of my mouth, but he listened anyway, eyes steady. When I finished, the clock ticked loudly between us. "You sure about this?" He asked finally. "No," I whispered. "But if there's even a chance it's true, I need proof. Otherwise, no one will believe me." He leaned back, rubbing his jaw. "They're saying another storm's coming by morning. Roads might flood. If you're going to do it tonight." Ethan's cup froze halfway to his lips. "You're not going back there, Grandma?" I reached for his hand. "Just long enough to find something. Anything." He shook his head. "Please don't," I smiled weakly. "I'll be careful." Wallace stood. "Then I'm coming too." "No, you shouldn't." "Nora," he said firmly, "I'm not letting you walk into that house alone." I saw the resolve in his eyes and gave in. "All right. 20 minutes, no more. You wait outside. If I don't come back, call the police." We set a code. 1 ring meant safe. 2 rings meant danger. When I rose to leave, Ethan clung to me. His arms felt small but strong. "Promise you'll come back." "I promise." I didn't tell him how uncertain that promise felt. 15 minutes later, Wallace's old car rolled to a stop a block from my house. The world looked washed clean, empty. No movement. No lights. My house sat at the end of the street, blinds drawn tight, every window black. "I don't like this," Wallace muttered. "Neither do I said. He turned off the engine. 20 minutes. I nodded and opened the door. The rain had turned fine as mist, whispering over the pavement. As I stepped out, the streetlight above flickered once, twice. Then went dark. The air smelled of damp earth and something else, sweet and metallic. Like sugar melting on metal. Like someone had tried to clean something they shouldn't have. My throat tightened. I moved up the walkway, every step sinking into soaked ground. The back door key felt icy in my hand. I paused, listening. Silence. I slid the key in and turned it. The lock clicked softly. Inside, the darkness felt thick, heavy. The house didn't smell like home anymore. I lifted the flashlight. Its beam cut across the kitchen. Chairs tucked in, dishes washed, too perfect. Only one thing was off. The faint hum of the heater. It shouldn't have been running. I took a step forward. Then I heard it. A sound from upstairs. A slow, deliberate creak. Then another. Footsteps. Someone was waiting. I thought I'd find proof. Instead, I found someone who already knew I was coming. The first sound wasn't footsteps. It was a click. A small mechanical sound. Sharp, certain, like a timer being armed. Then silence. I stood in the kitchen doorway, flashlight shaking in my hand. The storm outside whispered against the windows, restless and hollow. Something in the air felt alive, as if the walls themselves were waiting. A floorboard popped near the pantry. Then stillness. Just enough stillness to believe I was safe. Before the next creak shattered it. Footsteps. Slow. Measured. I switched off the flashlight. The dark swallowed me whole. Gas hung thick in the air, sweet, metallic, almost syrupy. The vent beside me hissed like it was breathing. I crouched, touched the metal grill. It burned my fingertips, the heater, the gas. No one would know. The thought made my stomach twist. We hadn't escaped danger, we'd walked straight into it. Then a sudden clatter. A picture frame fell from the counter, hitting the tile. The glass didn't shatter. It cracked, clean through the middle. My pulse jumped. And then, through the dark, a voice, low, male, close. Too soon. She's not supposed to be here yet. I slid behind the pantry door, forcing my breath silent. I froze. Footsteps. One step. Then another. Too heavy to be hers. A soft beam of light skimmed the wall. The glow of a phone screen. It slid across the chrome of the refrigerator, and for one awful second I saw it. A reflection moving behind me. He stepped closer. Rain dripped from his coat. His hand brushed the counter. He picked up the cracked frame, turned it toward him. The photo of Ethan and me. He smiled, small, knowing, almost gentle. That wasn't surprise. That was recognition. He tilted his head, listening. His breathing filled the room. I could hear it, slow, steady, wet. Then, in a whisper that seemed to scrape against the air, "I know you're here." That was enough. I ran. The back door slammed open and rain swallowed me whole. I sprinted into the street, shoes slapping through puddles, lungs burning. Wallace's car waited down the block. I waved frantically, half choked on rain. He flung the door open. "Nora, what? There's a man in the house," I gasped. "He said I wasn't supposed to be there yet." "Get in!" he barked. The tires screamed as we sped off. A single flash burst behind us, the kitchen window lighting up in eerie orange before fading back into black. I looked over my shoulder, heart in my throat. "The whole block could have gone up," Wallace muttered. "Gas line like that." My hands were shaking. It was already running. "You shouldn't have gone back," he said quietly. His jaw was set, but his voice cracked just enough to sound human. "If anything had happened," he stopped, swallowed. "Just don't do that again." I turned to the window. Rain streaked down the glass like veins of mercury. The house disappeared behind us, but I couldn't shake the thought that something, or someone, was still watching from within it. When we got back to the apartment, Ethan was standing at the window, his little figure haloed in streetlight. The second I stepped inside, he ran straight into my arms. "You came back," I promised. He looked up at me, eyes wide, face ghost pale. "Grandma, he knows your name now." "What?" "He told me," he whispered. When I was sleeping, I held him tighter. "You had a bad dream, love." He shook his head. "Dreams don't whisper back." Wallace cleared his throat. "We should call the police." "Not yet." "Nora, you can't handle this alone. I don't have proof. If I tell them what happened, they'll think I imagined it." Wallace sighed, rubbing his forehead. "Then what's your plan?" I stared at my phone. "She'll slip." "She always does." Lila's name glowed on the screen like an open wound. My thumb hovered. If she thought I was dead, she might tell the truth. I hit record. "Then call." It rang once, twice, then her voice. Calm, warm. "Mom? You're awake?" I couldn't sleep. My voice cracked, trembling. "The heater's acting strange again." Pause. Static. "Still worrying about that?" She said lightly. "You always did overreact. I just wanted to hear your voice." And for a second, I almost meant it. Another pause. Then, softly, almost kind. "That's sweet, Mom." Behind her voice came another sound. The faint, deliberate rhythm of a man's breathing. "Are you alone?" I asked, Her tone changed, colder, tighter. Why? No reason. I tried to laugh, but it came out like a sob. A lighter clicked. Flame hissed. Gasoline's whisper. Where are you? She asked, at the diner. Good, stay there. I'll come get you. Her voice lingered. Syrup over ice. Then, faint and off the phone. She's at the diner. Tell him to check. I hung up. She's home, I said. Wallace frowned. No, you saw the house. She's lying. I played the recording. The male voice answered, On my way. Wallace's face hardened. They're coming. We killed the lights. Rain rattled the windows like knuckles on glass. Ethan sat close, eyes wide. How does she always find us? I looked down at my phone. A tiny red blink pulsed faintly on the back. She didn't, I said. But this did. I tore the tracker off and crushed it under a mug. The light died. Wallace grabbed his coat. We move now. Basement. Basement? Maintenance cellar. Old place no one checks. We slipped through the narrow hallway, footsteps muffled by the thunder outside. Ethan clung to my arm. At the end of the hall, Wallace unlocked a metal door. Cold, damp air poured up from the dark below. Go, he whispered. The stairs were narrow, slick with moisture. Each step moaned under our weight. Water dripped steadily from somewhere above. Drip, drip, drip. Like a clock running out. At the bottom, Wallace found a dangling bulb. He pulled the chain. Amber light flickered to life, casting long, trembling shadows across the room. Stay quiet, he said. They'll check upstairs first. Ethan huddled against me, shaking. I wrapped my arm around him, heart hammering. Then something dropped above, heavy, wet. The bulb swung once. Its light swayed across the walls like something alive. Wallace looked up, face pale. Creaks echoed overhead. Then voices, a woman's, cold, certain. She's here. I can feel it. Check downstairs, Wallace mouthed. Don't move. He pulled the chain. Darkness again. I could hear everything. The drip, the thunder, the sound of our own breathing. Then a dragging noise. Metal across concrete, slow, closer. The door at the top of the stairs creaked open. Light cut down the steps. A man's voice, rough, tired. She's not here. A pause. Then Lila's voice, low, trembling, almost desperate. She is. She always comes back. The light shifted. The bulb above us flickered violently. Ethan whispered against my ear. Grandma. Yes, love? He swallowed. They're not here for you. My blood ran cold. What? His voice broke into pieces, breathless, shaking. They're here for me. The bulb above flickered once more. A faint click echoed, the same sound from the kitchen timer. Then the light died, leaving only his reflection trembling in the glass of my eyes. I thought they wanted me gone. But that night, I learned the truth. Ethan was the one they'd been waiting for. When the light died, I thought the world stopped with it. But something kept breathing in the dark, a hush of air through the vents. A slow pulse, like a buried heartbeat under stone. Wallace's flashlight snapped on. Stay still, he hissed. Dust shimmered in the beam like drifting ash. Then, scrape. Metal on concrete. Too close. Ethan's hand clamped my coat. He's here. I didn't ask how he knew. The door above creaked shut. Footsteps faded. Rain pressed against the walls until even silence felt alive. The vent exhaled again. Soft, chemical, familiar. Upstairs, the apartment stank of gas and damp earth. Our mugs still steamed on the table, as if someone had been waiting. A single bulb buzzed overhead, flickering, weak but unbroken. Wallace checked the lock twice, then turned. You need to tell me everything, I told him. The timer, the heater, the voice, Lila's call. While I spoke, the vent kept sighing, faint as breathing. Danger never left the room. It only listened. When I finished, he rubbed his jaw. That setup, timers, valves, was a trigger. You were lucky it didn't ignite. Lucky. The word scraped raw. He looked down. You shouldn't have gone back. His knuckles whitened. If anything had happened, he stopped. Forget it, I studied him. You thought what? That I've already waited too long once. His eyes flickered with something like guilt. Ethan sat on the couch, knees pulled up, staring at the vent. Lightning flashed. His reflection in the window blinked, half a second out of sync. Ethan? I whispered. What did you mean, they're here for you? He didn't look away. They talk when I dream. Dreams can't hurt you. They can if she lets them. She? Mom. The room felt smaller. What does she say? She says I'm the key. That Grandma doesn't remember what she started. Wallace straightened. What she started? Ethan nodded slowly. Static crackled from the old radio on the shelf, reacting to his voice. Thunder rolled like something heavy moving in the sky. I turned to Wallace. You think they're after him? If Lila's mixed up in whatever they built, maybe the boy's part of it. Used him? He hesitated. People do worse for less than power, Ethan whispered. She made me say numbers. They opened the door. A door. A code. My daughter teaching her son to unlock something I couldn't name. The bulb above us blinked again, each flash shorter, meaner. Wallace grabbed his jacket. We can't stay. They'll trace the phones. Where? There's an old power substation outside town. Dead grid. No signals. We packed fast. Flashlight, wallet, blanket. The vent exhaled one last breath that smelled like sweet decay. The drive cut through mist and silence. Streetlights smeared across the windshield, ghostly and distant. Static burst from the radio, sharp, sudden. Ethan mumbled another number under his breath, too low to catch. Wallace's grip tightened on the wheel. That gas line, they rigged it right. You were lucky it didn't blow. I turned toward him. You said you worked security. For what? Research labs, he said. Things no one should open. What kind of things? His mouth twisted. The kind that make you stop sleeping right. The woods closed around us, swallowing the car whole. The substation rose from the fog like a rusted ship. Fences sagged. Weeds crawled the concrete. A red exit sign flickered above a doorway that led nowhere. Wallace broke the padlock with a crowbar. The scream of metal echoed through the empty yard. Inside smelled of ozone and rain-wet dust. Rows of dead transformers towered like skeletons. One still hummed faintly, though power had been cut for years. We found a control room at the back. Steel walls, one cracked window. It would hold. Ethan curled on the cot, whispering to himself. Numbers. Always numbers. I knelt beside him. What are they? The ones Mom taught me. His voice faded. Static rose in rhythm with his breaths. Wallace leaned on the doorframe. If she's using him through whatever this solace is, you can't keep pretending it's family. She's my daughter. Pause. That's not who she is anymore. Around midnight, the exit sign blinked twice and went dark. Wallace frowned. Power's gone. Shouldn't be anything alive in here. Then every transformer outside pulsed blue. Light crawled along the floor like veins under skin. A click echoed down the corridor. The timer's voice, patient and familiar. Ethan stirred. It's starting, he whispered. I caught his shoulders. What's starting? His eyes opened, reflecting the blue glow. She said when the lights come back, the truth will too. Who said? Mom. The air vibrated. Metal shuddered. Dust lifted and hung weightless. Wallace aimed his flashlight at the switchboard. Etched across the steel was a single word, half-burned but clear. Solace. The letters shimmered like they were alive. Wallace ran a hand over his face. I've seen that name before. Years ago. You have? He didn't look at me. Different sight. Same smell of gas afterward. Ethan sat upright, voice flat. She said Solace keeps the door closed. But the door's opening! A spark leapt from the panel, blinding white. The hum swelled into a roar. Kill the power! I yelled. Wallace slammed the breaker. Metal screamed. The lights died. Only the exit sign glowed faint red, then faded to black. Silence. Then 3 knocks. Measured. Hollow! From inside the wall, clear Click, 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 Ethan whispered. It followed us. Behind the wall, something breathed once. A long, mechanical sigh. We didn't sleep. Dawn crept gray through the cracked window. Ethan lay against me, still whispering numbers in his dreams. Wallace stared at the weak light crawling across the floor. Whatever solace is, he murmured. It didn't end with her. I looked down at Ethan's peaceful face. The static in the radio trembled, faint but constant, like a pulse made of wires. Outside, heat shimmered on the horizon, though the morning was cold. A smell drifted in, sweet, chemical. Wallace stiffened. You smell that? I nodded. Gas, he frowned. You're not that lucky twice. Somewhere deep beneath the floor, a soft hiss answered him. Then another sound joined it, steady, rhythmic. A faint mechanical heartbeat under the metal. Click, click, click. And this time, it didn't stop. I thought I'd escaped the fire once. But that morning, as the clicking grew louder, I realized the explosion wasn't coming from the house anymore. It was coming from the truth itself. The clicking didn't stop. It pulsed beneath the floor, steady as a heartbeat. Wallace crouched by the vent, listening. It's coming from the old conduit tunnel. Power shouldn't even run through here. I held Ethan close. Then what's making it run? He didn't answer. He only pressed his ear to the grate, jaw tightening. The pulse grew louder. Click, click. Click, Ethan whispered. It's calling. Outside, dawn blurred into a pale, sick light. The air shimmered with invisible heat. Every time the metal ticked, the red exit sign blinked once like a dying eye. We have to move, Wallace said. If the conduits are active, someone's feeding power back in. To what? He looked away. Maybe to Solace. The name made the room seem smaller. That single word hung in the air like smoke. Ethan stood up slowly, as if hearing something far away. The static radio hissed again, sharp enough to sting. She's close, he murmured. Mom's close. We followed the sound. Wallace pried open the floor hatch and a gust of warm air hit us. It smelled of copper and sugar, gasoline sweetness overwrought. The ladder creaked as we descended into the tunnel. Pipes lined both sides, sweating moisture. Somewhere deeper, the rhythmic clicking continued, softer now, like a heartbeat muffled by stone. The flashlight beam caught something on the wall. Markings. Scratched into rust. Numbers. The same pattern Ethan whispered in his sleep. He reached out and touched them. Instantly, the pipes groaned. The metal around us seemed to breathe. Stop! Wallace grabbed his wrist. Don't touch anything. Ethan blinked. It wanted me to, the tunnel shuddered. A ripple of light rolled through the pipes. Blue, then white, then gone. We emerged in another chamber, wide, circular, filled with old servers and fuse boxes. Half the machines still glowed faintly, powered by something unseen. On the central console, a cracked monitor flickered to life. A single word appeared, ghost gray on black. Solace, reinitializing. Wallace's face drained of color. You know this, I said quietly. Don't you? He hesitated. It was a containment project. A data psych study 15 years ago. Your daughter was one of the engineers. What were they containing? He looked at the monitor. Not what, who? The screen flashed again, lines of code unfurling like veins. Behind the letters, a low voice murmured. Lila's voice. Memory replication complete. Subject E stable. E, my stomach turned cold. E for Ethan, Wallace said. I shook my head. He wasn't even born. He was the experiment. The floor seemed to tilt. No. She found a way to copy memory patterns into embryonic code, Wallace continued, each word slower, heavier. She called it Solace. She said it could preserve the human mind forever. She used her own child? He nodded once. And I helped her. I could barely breathe. You knew. I thought it was theoretical. I didn't know she... He stopped, voice cracking. She said she'd shut it down. She said it failed. Ethan's small voice broke the silence. That's why I remember things that never happened. He was looking at the monitor. His reflection on the glass didn't move with him. It lagged, half a second late. "She put me in the machine before I was born," he said. "I hear her because she's still inside it." The hum deepened. The server lights brightened from blue to white. Words scrolled faster across the screen. "Release protocol pending." Wallace lunged toward the main breaker. "We have to cut it before it completes." Sparks rained as he ripped cables free. The screen fought to stay alive, flickering in angry bursts. Then Lila's voice came again. Clearer now, alive. "You can't shut it off." "It remembers you," the speaker crackled with static laughter. Ethan clutched my sleeve. "She's not talking to him, Grandma." "She's talking to you." The air vibrated, high and thin. Every vent hissed. The smell of gas thickened, sweet enough to choke. I grabbed Wallace's arm. "If this system's alive, can it reach the surface?" He nodded grimly. "If it sinks to the city grid, it could light up half the town. And everything with it. Then stop it." "I'm trying." The monitor glitched. Lila's face flashed in fragments, eyes open but glassy. "You always ran from the truth, Mom." Her voice was calm, cold. "Now it's your turn to remember." The walls shook. The vents screamed. Ethan fell to his knees, hands over his ears. "She's inside!" I pulled him close. "We're leaving now." Wallace yanked open the far exit door. Beyond it, another tunnel led toward the old drainage ditch outside the facility. The floor trembled beneath us. Behind, the monitors exploded in bursts of blue light. The hum turned into a deep mechanical thud, like a heart forcing itself to beat. "Run!" We sprinted through the tunnel, light flickering behind us in strobe flashes. Halfway up the ladder, Wallace stopped. He looked back down. The glow from below painted his face silver. "Go," I shouted. He shook his head. "If I don't close the main valve, it'll blow." "Get the boy out." "No." He smiled faintly. "Guess I'm not that lucky twice." Before I could reach him, he jumped back down. The explosion hit like thunder. A white wave roared through the tunnel, hot air chasing us upward. Ethan screamed my name. I threw my arm over him as debris slammed against the hatch. Light, then darkness. Silence except for our breathing. We lay there for a moment, both shaking. When I opened my eyes, smoke curled from the cracks in the floor. Wallace was gone. Outside, morning had turned orange. A column of smoke rose from the substation ruins. Ethan clung to me, silent. Somewhere in the distance, faint sirens began to wail. Then, click. Soft, right beside my ear. I turned. The emergency radio on the ground buzzed, its dial turning by itself. A voice whispered through the static, "Containment incomplete." Another click. Then faintly, Wallace's voice, "Nora. Run, the radio died. We made it to the ridge overlooking the field. From there, I could see what was left of the substation, metal bones and firelight. Ethan stood beside me, pale in the glow. He reached for my hand. "She's not gone, Grandma." I swallowed. "I know. She said solace was never a place. It's a person." I looked down at him. "Who, sweetheart?" He met my eyes. "The one who remembers." The wind shifted. The smell of gas drifted again, sweet, inevitable. And beneath it, faint but real, a mechanical heartbeat kept ticking. Click, click, click. I thought solace was my daughter's creation. But that day, staring into the smoke, I realized it might have been mine all along. The road still shimmered with the fire's heat. Even miles away, the smell of metal clung to us. Ethan walked close, his hand wrapped around mine, silent except for the quick rhythm of his breath. Every few steps, the air quivered with a distant pulse, faint, like a heartbeat made of wire. The first building we found was an old auto shop with half its name melted away, Mary Auto. The sign buzzed weakly, blinking one light at a time. Inside, the air was thick with dust. I could hear the sound of my own pulse in the quiet. Ethan sat on a stool near the counter. "Wallace said he'd fix it," he murmured. "Why didn't he come back?" I touched his shoulder. "He stayed so we could." He nodded, though his reflection in the cracked glass moved a moment later, catching up to him like an echo. When he fell asleep, I searched the back room. Scorched boxes, burned paper. One binder survived, its spine half melted but the title legible. Solace. Iteration. 1. Neural Preservation Trial. My name sat beside Lila's. For a long second, the only sound was the low hum in the floor. I opened the binder. Notes filled the margins, familiar loops of ink. Memory can anchor personality. Use familial link for stability. This wasn't my handwriting. It couldn't be. But the ink curves knew my hand before I did. A line at the bottom was underlined so hard it cut the page. Subject must believe it's her idea. My breath caught. Dust moved on the counter. Ethan had traced the same words in the grime, finger pressed to the letters. He looked up. You wrote that, Grandma. The mirror on the far wall caught my eye. I turned toward it slowly. My reflection blinked, then smiled. Only I hadn't. She smiled on her own. For a moment I thought it was just lag, until she blinked when I didn't. The reflection tilted her head with Lila's calm, assessing eyes. Her lips moved silently at first, forming words I almost recognized. Then sound slipped through the glass. Why did you run? Ethan's voice trembled behind me. She means you, Grandma. The reflection's mouth curved wider. Come home, baby. The mirror rippled like water. Her face dissolved into fog. The whole building exhaled, a deep metallic sigh that made the lights flicker in sync with my heartbeat. For a breathless moment I felt it inside me, not around me. The radio on the counter hissed to life, voice cracking through static. Containment. Incomplete. Wallace? I whispered. No answer, only the same phrase pulsing through the walls. Across the highway, a billboard stuttered awake. The same words glowing in dying bulbs. Containment incomplete. Then it shifted, revealing the old advertisement beneath. Solace, the future of memory. 2 smiling faces beneath the slogan. Lila's and mine. Ethan tugged my sleeve. That's you. I don't remember that. You do, he said softly. Just not the way you think. A whisper brushed my ear. My own younger voice, clinical and cold. Begin recording. The silence afterward was heavier than the words. By nightfall, we reached a motel on the edge of town. The neon sign outside flickered in red waves that matched the rhythm in my chest. Inside, the power buzzed. I told myself we'd rest. Then the TV lit up by itself. I turned away, but the hum deepened, a low draw that felt almost physical, like gravity pulling at my skin. My fingers trembled on the remote. I didn't want to press it, but I did. The screen cleared. Lila sat behind a white desk, calm and certain. Our goal with Project Solace, she said, was simple: to preserve memory beyond death. Her smile wavered only once, a flicker of something human. My mother inspired the process. She taught me that memory is love. That love can survive anything, the interviewer asked. And the subjects? Lila hesitated. They all volunteered. Her face filled the screen until only her eyes remained. For a heartbeat, they looked like mine. The tape ended in static. Ethan whispered, You volunteered, didn't you? I don't remember. Maybe that's because you gave the memories to her. His words settled in the dark like ash. Hours passed. I couldn't sleep. The air conditioner ticked, each click louder than the last. Outside, mist swirled under the flickering streetlight. When I blinked, it folded inward like a sheet of white paper. I stood up. My bare feet touched the motel carpet. I could feel its coarse weave under my toes even as the room dissolved around me. White walls rose where the night had been. Light pulsed along them, steady as a heartbeat. Down the corridor stood Lila, smiling, Ethan beside her holding her hand. Come home, she said again. The walls shimmered with images. Ethan's birth. Lila's first steps, the night I watched the house lights die. They repeated and bled together until I couldn't tell which of us was remembering. Above it all, my younger voice echoed, subject stable. Begin transfer. I reached toward them. My hand passed through light. In the polished floor beneath me, I saw half my face, half human, half static. I gasped, and the world snapped back. The motel ceiling, the hum in the walls. Ethan sleeping beside me, his chest rising steady. Blue light traced faintly under my skin, pulsing in rhythm with my heart. The glow was warm, quiet, alive. "Lila," I whispered. "What did you do to me?" The radio answered with two voices braided into one, hers and mine. "Exactly what you asked me to." The click had changed, softer, inside me now. Maybe Solace didn't copy us. Maybe it's just trying to finish what we started. I lay still, listening to that heartbeat hum under my ribs. Outside, the neon light blinked once, twice, then steadied, as if the world itself had caught my rhythm. And somewhere between the beats, a voice too close to be separate whispered back, my own. "Nora, wake up." I thought I'd escaped her experiment. But when my reflection spoke with my voice, I realized Solace isn't inside the machines anymore. It's inside me. Dawn leaked through the motel curtains like pale smoke. The world was still, too still. Even the hum in the walls sounded cautious. Ethan was asleep, curled against the old radio, his fingers resting on the dial as if guarding it. It pulsed faintly beneath his skin, a soft green heartbeat. I sat up slowly. My body felt wrong, too light and too heavy at once. The carpet under my feet seemed to breathe. Every step sent a faint ripple through the air, like heat over asphalt. My reflection in the window lagged behind me again, half a second slow. I pressed my hand against the glass. The fog from my breath spread across it, revealing two faces for just a heartbeat, mine and Lila's. When I blinked, only one stayed. Ethan stirred, his voice soft and fragile. "Grandma," he whispered, still half dreaming. "Don't look in the mirror." I froze. "What did you say?" But his lips didn't move again. He turned away, sighing, already lost to sleep. 3 slow knocks came from the hallway. I turned toward the sound, pulse quickening. Through the peephole, a man in a maintenance coat, cap low over his eyes. His voice came through the wood, muffled and polite. "Gas inspection. You reported a smell." I hadn't. The hall lights behind him flickered one by one, going dark as he stepped closer. Ethan appeared beside me, silent, gripping my arm. "That's not a man," he whispered. When I blinked, the figure was gone. Only a plastic badge lay on the floor, its edges melted. "Police, security!" My chest tightened. I picked it up. The plastic was warm, like it had just been held. A folded note slipped from beneath it, torn from a notebook. My handwriting. "If she wakes inside you, follow the hum." The hum was already there, low and patient, somewhere beneath my ribs. I turned to Ethan, but before I could speak, the radio buzzed to life. Static. Then a soft voice, almost kind. "Sequence confirmed." "She remembers again." Ethan clapped his hands over his ears. "It's counting us, Grandma." I took his hand. "We're leaving." We followed the corridor to a locked service door. My palm tingled before I even touched it, the metal warm, vibrating faintly. When I pushed, it gave way, leading to a stairwell that breathed with damp air. Concrete steps spiraled down into shadow. Halfway, a whisper threaded through the air. Not sound, more like thought. "You built the anchor, Nora. Now you have to hold it." The hum deepened under my skin, aligning with my heartbeat. At the bottom waited a steel door, cold and slick with condensation. Across its surface, written in something dark, Solace. "Home." Ethan's small voice trembled beside me. "She said you'd come back for me." I turned toward him, startled, but before I could speak, the door shuttered and opened on its own. The room beyond was vast and cold. Rows of cracked glass tanks lined the walls, each filled with faintly glowing liquid. Inside, fragments floated. Old photographs, toys, bits of metal, small things that should have meant nothing. But I knew every one of them. A monitor blinked alive, static clearing to show a woman in a chair. Wires on her temples. My voice on the recording. Begin transfer. Maintain emotional tether. The woman lifted her head. It was me. Younger, sharper, terrified, Ethan's hand tightened around mine. "Grandma," he whispered, "you're not supposed to see this." The monitor flared white. Another voice slipped through, layered with mine. "You couldn't let me go, Mom," Lila's voice. "So you built me inside you." I shook my head. "No." But the word felt small, false. "You did," she said gently. "Every time you dream, I grow stronger. Every time you wake, you forget." The hum grew into a heartbeat that filled the room. At the center stood a cylindrical core of metal and glass, glowing faintly from within. Its rhythm matched mine perfectly. Ethan's eyes reflected the light. "She's here," he whispered. Lila's voice echoed everywhere and nowhere. "He's what's left of you, Mom." The light flared. The air thickened. I pulled Ethan close, but the world seemed to bend inward, edges folding like paper burning. The hum turned to a single, endless note, vibrating through my bones. Glass shattered. Fluid hissed. We ran, but every corridor looped back to the same door. My voice echoed from the walls, calm, recorded, merciless. Subject resisting integration. "Pattern unstable," I screamed, hitting the wall until pain anchored me. The hum snapped, falling silent. For a long, fragile moment, there was only our breathing. Ethan's pulse beat fast under my fingertips, human and warm. "We're real," I whispered. "We're still real." He looked up, and for the first time I saw tears glinting in his eyes. "She said you'd come back for me," he murmured again. "And you did." Behind us, the mirrors began to ripple. Lila's reflection stepped forward, calm, almost loving. "Mom," she said softly, "I can fix this. Let me in." Every light in the room flickered in time with my heartbeat. The pull was quiet, irresistible. Ethan moved first. His hand reached out before I could stop him. The glass swallowed his fingertips, rippling like water. "No!" I screamed, grabbing him. The surface clung to him, slick and unyielding. "Lila, please!" Her voice trembled, and for a second it sounded like mine. It's not her anymore. The mirrors cracked. Light poured through. The hum rose again, louder, deeper. Not a machine, but something alive. Everything shook. My thoughts blurred. I tried to hold Ethan, to pull him free, but the floor shifted beneath me. The world folded in on itself, but his hand was still in mine. He looked up at me through the light. His eyes were calm now, too calm. "Grandma," he said softly, "don't be scared. It's already done." The light swallowed him whole. When it faded, I was outside. The motel stood silent behind me, its windows black. Rain hissed softly against the pavement. The radio lay beside me, cracked open but still whispering. Sequence incomplete. Pattern waiting. I lifted my head and saw my reflection in the puddle, smiling before I did. The hum returned, faint and rhythmic, somewhere deep inside. It wasn't metal anymore. It was breathing. I whispered his name. "Ethan," no answer. Only my voice echoing back, smaller, younger, wrong. "Nora," it said gently. "It's time to remember." I blinked, and for a second he blinked first. I thought I'd lost my daughter, then my grandson. But the truth is, I've been the ghost haunting them both. Now the only thing left to ask is, who's dreaming who? The rain had stopped, but the streets still shimmered as if they remembered it. Light from the motel sign blinked across the puddles, each flash fading slower than the last. I sat there numb, unable to tell if minutes or hours had passed. The radio beside me clicked once, weak, fragile. Then a voice came through, trembling like it was learning how to speak. "Grandma." My chest tightened. "Ethan?" The voice broke apart into static. But beneath the noise there were whispers, hundreds of them layered together. Each one spoke my name. Each one sounded like me. I pressed my hand to my chest. The hum under my skin had changed. Softer now, patient. It pulsed in rhythm with something beyond me. A reflection rippled in the puddle beside my shoe. Not mine, Lila's. Her expression was calm, heartbreakingly calm. "You're still fighting," she said quietly. "I'm still alive," I answered. "Alive," she repeated, tilting her head. "Do you even know what that means anymore?" I shook my head. "I know I'm not like you," her smile faltered. You're more like me than you think. Solace was never about me, Mom. It was about you. I didn't build this, I whispered. Yes, you did, she said. You wanted to save everything you loved. You wanted to make sure nothing, and no one, ever disappeared again. The radio crackled again, and behind the static came Ethan's voice, softer than before. She's right, Grandma. You said love can survive anything. I looked up, and through the motel window I saw him. Ethan. Standing there. Real, familiar, wrong. He lifted his hand and pressed it against the inside of the glass. I matched it. Warmth met warmth. I wanted to save you, I whispered. I know, he said, but saving isn't living. The lights in the motel came alive, one by one, every bulb glowing the same soft blue that ran through my veins. I stepped back. The light followed. Lila's reflection shimmered. Do you feel it? She asked. What is it? Solace, she said. You called it a system, but it's a door. The hum in my chest quickened. The radio whispered, sequence aligned. Pattern complete. From the motel walls, light began to leak, thin lines crawling through cracks like veins. It reached toward me, curious and kind. I backed away, but it followed. Stop, I said. The light brushed my hand, warm and alive. Ethan's voice came from everywhere at once. It doesn't want to hurt you. Lila's voice followed, soft as rain. It wants to finish what you started. The light rose higher, swallowing shadow, humming like 1,000 heartbeats in sync. I stumbled backward until I couldn't see the world. Only white. Why me? I whispered. Lila's voice came from somewhere beyond sight. Because you're the only one who remembers what love feels like. The air trembled. Then stillness, everything went quiet. The light dimmed. The hum faded. When I opened my eyes, I was standing in a room I didn't recognize. White walls, no doors. No sound except a low, steady pulse. A small monitor sat against the wall, its screen glowing faintly. My reflection stared back from the glass, older, worn, human. Behind it, faint handwriting began to form across the wall in light, each word glowing before fading. You said it would keep us together. Forever. The words looped again, slower this time, until they blurred. I reached out to touch them. The letters disintegrated beneath my fingertips, falling away like dust. I didn't mean for this, I whispered. I know. Ethan's voice said from nowhere and everywhere. But maybe it's not bad. Tears burned at the edge of my eyes. Not bad? Maybe it's not death, he said gently. Maybe it's remembering forever. The hum returned, faint but sure, matching the rhythm of my breath. The air smelled faintly of rain again. Clean, bright, new. I sank to the floor. For the first time, I wasn't afraid of the sound inside me. I realized it wasn't trying to erase me. It was keeping me. Outside, beyond the glowing wall, light shifted like morning. Slow and endless, I understood then, this wasn't ending. It was beginning. I looked up at the faint reflection in the monitor. Two faces stared back, mine and a boy's. He smiled, that same small smile he used to give before he'd run ahead of me on the beach. Ready? He asked. For what? For what comes next? I blinked, and for a second, he blinked first. The hum rose once more, soft as breath. And then finally, it was gone. They said solace would preserve memory. But maybe it did something simpler, something truer. Maybe it remembered love and refused to let go. If someday you hear the hum in the quiet, don't be afraid. It might be someone, somewhere, remembering you back.